Hello everyone, this is the sample quality checklist. This is the download that's available for you guys to basically just run your samples through this list and see if they are up to scratch. I'm going to go through the points on the list. This is totally flexible, definitely not concrete. If you want to add staff to this, obviously every product's going to qualify for these points or not qualify for these points at all. You just go through it and basically you can add your own stuff onto the bottom of the list, or you probably need another page, but right on the back of the piece of paper or something. And yeah, just add your own points as you go. You can never have too many points when it comes to sample quality. You want to be quite rigorous about it. The first point here is good to average communication with the factory. So right, not only is the product on test, the factory is as well. Now, when you were communicating with the factory over the sample and getting the sample sent and all that, how quick were they to respond to your emails? Was it like a week later, 2 weeks later, even a month later? If that's the case, if that's when they're vying for your business. If they're vying for your business and it's taken them 2 weeks to respond to an email, what are they going to be like when they've got you stapled down with 1,000 product order? You need them to respond quickly, but they know they've got your business, so they might not respond at all. And it's something you need to take into consideration. You need them to respond to the email within like a couple of days at most. Bearing in mind that countries like China have a lot of holidays. Chinese New Year, they have a national day and a few other things like that that go on. They love a party, so they have a few days off. I don't blame them. So before jumping off the wagon and going mad, make sure that you check the holidays first. They might not be replying to you because they might be down the pub, and if they are, then fair play to them. Sample delivered in the time stated. If you agree with the time stated for a sample to be delivered, if they say it's going to be with you between 8 to 10 days, then that is the time it should be with you. There's no point blaming a delivery company. A delivery company's job is to deliver a parcel within a stated time. They are brilliant at it. DHL, FedEx, UPS, that's their bread and butter. They get the parcel to you, but in order for them to have the parcel, they actually have to be given the parcel from the factory. And sometimes parcels will sit around factories for a couple of days before someone can be bothered to deliver it. If that parcel's late, then that is, I'm not saying, call it all off, but it's definitely something you need to be vigilant about in the future, because you can't do lateness. If you're running out of product, say it's coming up to Christmas and you are selling your product really well, you need to know that your factory is going to get your order to you when they say they're going to. It's about building a trust relationship between you and your factory. If they're not going to be punctual with the deliveries, then you need to be aware of that and wary of it, and maybe make your Christmas order a bit early if you decide to go with that factory. Did the sample have sufficient postage packaging on arrival? This is an interesting one, because if your sample shows up and it's got a few bits of tape wrapped around it, a bit of brown paper and the postage labels kind of holding it all together, then if that's what they're like sending you a sample, what are they going to be like sending you your actual order when you've invested quite a bit of money into it? What are they going to be like when that arrives? Is it going to be poorly packaged? Is the product going to be damaged as a result of the postage and packaging? Something to take into consideration there. And the next one is the product packaging as described and good quality. So going back to our example of the pull-up bar, that product packaging was a box with a big muscly guy pulling up on a door there. It had like some nice basic marketing, good font, a pull-up bar, super strong pull-up bar, or whatever it was. And it looked good. It looked sellable. I mean, you could put that on a shelf and someone would probably buy it. If that's not the case, if your sample shows up and it's in a brown box, where's the product packaging? Is that how I'm going to get all of them? I need to know this. That's something you need to bring up with your factory and ask them about it, because you're kind of relying on them to supply a bit of packaging as well. That was what was agreed. Does the product smell? Now, this is an interesting one as well. in Eastern countries, not just China, but all over the East, they smoke like no tomorrow. They go through an awful lot of cigarettes. And if they're smoking whilst making your product and packing your product, then the smell of tobacco, which I'm sure you know is a very strong smell, will get into your product, even into the plastic, say your product's in a plastic mold packaging to hold it all together and secure. Once that's opened and the customer's actually got to the product, the first thing they're going to smell is stale cigarette smoke. That's not good. That's definitely something that you do not want, and that will be something they will write a review on Amazon. You do not need that in your life. If your samples come through and they smell of cigarette smoke, it's something that you really need to bang in the head. It's quite an important one. Not just cigarette smoke, but I had friends and they had a sample come through and the smell that came off that product was just awful. It was like a farmyard feces smell. Oh, it was disgusting. You don't need that. You don't want that. Bad smelling products is bad news. So make sure you give your product a good sniff when it comes through. Okay, quality tests. I've put a few things down here that I do to test the quality, durability of the product. Be sure to add to this if you want, if there's things you want to test. Strength tests, give it a pull, check the seams, connections, whatever. Make sure it's a solid, durable product and of good quality. Rub test. I've rubbed, like, say, the material on the product with my fingers or against a piece of paper and see if the color comes off. It's an interesting one to do because if it does do that, then what's it going to be like when it gets wet? What's it going to be like in a pocket, in your pocket for ages? If color starts rubbing off, then it's just not good quality. Is it waterproof? Should it be waterproof? If you ordered a whole bunch of watches in and it's got 30-meter waterproof on it, is it waterproof to 30 meters? I'm not saying you should chuck it to the bottom of a swimming pool, but you should definitely throw it in your bath or something like that. Because if you last thing you want to do is order a load of waterproof watches in, send them out to your customers, and they're not waterproof. That is bad news. Okay. Wash test. Is your product washable? Does it state that it's washable? Can it be washed? Should it be washed? If so, wash it. See what happens. If the colors all come away or if it dissolves or whatever, then these are things you need to know now, because once you make your commitment for an order and you start selling this to the customers, believe me, they will find these problems. And the way they'll hit back is through reviews, and you don't need bad reviews. Okay, the correct size or the agreed sample size. Say, going back to our towel example, if you'd agreed a size for the sample and it came through and it was just a handkerchief size, not the actual towel size, then that's something that you need to not, go crazy about, but maybe ask the factory, hey, I asked for a full towel size sample here and you haven't provided me with it, you've just provided me with a piece of cloth. I wanted the whole towel to see and test for myself and see the size of it when it was folded up. I wanted to see if it would fit in its towel carry bag so I could take it to the beach. Well, obviously not you take it to the beach, but my customers could take it to the beach, etc., etc. If they haven't done that, then you need to maybe get in contact with them and find out the reason why. If they're going to start doing their own thing, then you need to make sure that they tell you that that's what they're going to do, or they just do what you ask them to do. So be wary on those sort of things. Is the sample the correct color or the agreed color? Now, there are obviously millions of different colors out there. The way we agree colors in importing is through a Pantone chart. It's a chart where we have thousands of colors, and every color's got a code. So you give the factory the code, and that is then the color that they must use. So you're all singing off the same hymn sheet. I'm going to do another video on Pantone charts and the colors, and I'll give you a link to a Pantone chart you can find on Google. And the final one here is, how heavy is the sample? Now, you may be ordering a product that you're not familiar with, and the sample comes through and it weighs a lot more than what you thought it did. This is something you need to take into consideration, because if the sample's heavy, you're going to be shipping this initially from your house, and you've got to figure out shipping charges. So you might need to weigh it, check with your post office, your local postal service or courier service, and figure out how much it's going to be to ship this thing around your country, because weight does build up the price. Obviously the size of the packaging as well does, but having heavy products around the place, it can cause a lot of trouble and expense on shipping. Okay, that's just a few of the things you should be checking yourself with your samples when they come through. Getting your samples is kind of a cool time. It's a time of maybe some excitement. You're going to get your samples out and check them and see and get your hands actually on a product, and also see what they're like on eBay when you come to sell them. So if all these boxes are ticked and you're happy with your samples, that's super cool news, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.